Here's the thing about failures. See, most people, they fear failing. And I used to fear failing as well because, just like everybody else, I I was brought up in a traditional system. I grew up in a traditional way, going to school, then college. I'm still in my college year, second year. But in school, what they teach you is if you fail at this, it's not just the school, the whole thing is designed to make you think in that way. That if you fail, you are done. If you fail, it's enough, that's over. And that's how that's how they implant the fear inside of you. And that's why you cannot get confident, you cannot make moves, you cannot start something. That's the reason why you fear people's opinions. That's the reason why I used to fear personally. Doing anything, starting anything. The fear of being judged, fear of, maybe somebody will say something to me. Maybe, something bad might happen if I post this video. All the fear is being inserted by the system. So you have to remove yourself from this. Okay? Initially, when I started creating videos, I was scared. I was really scared. And most of you will not be able to relate to what I'm saying right now. You might be saying, he makes sense a bit. But if you are not someone who has never created something, who has never done something, who has never started something, you will never know. And I don't want you to know, because at the end of the day, you're just a consumer. You're not here to change, you're just here to pass the opinions. And it is what it is. But if you are a creator, you would definitely be able to relate to me. Like the fear, if I told you to create a video right now, and I've mentioned this thing a couple of times in my previous videos as well, if you create a video right now, and if I tell you to post it on YouTube or Instagram or wherever, you will be scared. You will be scared. And that's very normal. You will be scared. That's the first path. That's the first stage. You will be scared. I was scared when I uploaded the first video. But one thing I've realized is all of the fear, it's been inserted into you. It's not real. Fear is not real. And, we all have watched movies, horror movies, like Conjuring, Annabelle. I've got a lot of stories as well. But you see there's something common in that video, in the movies that you watch. The devil, it only preys on the weak ones, on the ones who are actually scared. There's a movie called It. It's a horror movie in which there's this clown called Pennywise. And if you are young, or even if you're adults, I believe you've watched that movie. And do you remember at the end of this, scene? Not the end of the scene, but the whole scene, the whole movie revolves around fear. The clown is not even real. The clown, whatever he portrays, it's not even real. It's the fear that he has inserted into those kids. And at the end of the movie, when the clown comes up, and there's a scene where the kids, they don't get scared at that moment, and they choose to fight. The clown gets smaller. until he becomes a tiny piece of shit. Thank you. So that's the same thing. Fear is an illusion, and especially failing. Trust me, I have been kicked out from the school when I was in class 8. Okay, I got TC from school. And I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad about anything. Looking back, I'm grateful for every single thing. I failed at my school. Then I got shifted. Then I went to class. In class 11, I had to shift again to another state in Chennai, where I failed once again. I could not cope up with the scenario there. I could not adapt to that environment because it was my first time going out of my comfort zone, and I failed. And after a month or so, me and two of my friends, not friends, but schoolmates, we used to call our parents every single day. We used to cry out, just being I won't even call it being childish, but that's what we had been installed in. That's what we had been trained to do. And we used to fear failing. There's always this fear, complaining, fear. All of these, I won't call it a negative aspect, but it has some negativity around it. And that's the reason I don't like being around people who complain about why they are so, complain about anything, there's something wrong with this XYZ. No, I don't like the energy, they're sticky. People who complain, they're super sticky. And I don't want to be around that energy anymore, And coming back to the concept of failing, I've failed many a times. I've started my business and I failed many times. Nobody knows about it because I never tell anybody, because that's not something to be announced. It's just because I failed doesn't mean it needs a big announcement that he's a failure. He failed, and that's what the traditional system does. If you have ever failed at any school, or even if you passed, you go at XYZ percentage, you get the result, and somehow everybody knows what your results are. You've passed, you're okay, good. You failed, now you're the bad guy, he's a lazy guy, he's failed. The whole society, it's all a same cycle. So there's nothing to be announced. I failed many times, nobody will ever get to know. And even talking about relationships, when I was small, I did make, I won't call it girlfriends, but I went on dates and I did fail many times. Not many times, but I failed at every single relationship that I had at that point. Because I was still learning. I had no point, I had no experience, and I'm grateful that I actually got to go through those failures. So anything that you have in your mind, if it scares you, you should do it. You should do it because the fear is an illusion. Anything. The fact that I was scared to even talk about, not confess, but reveal about me having me going on dates when I was small, me talking about the failures that I faced in my school. It was something that I feared. No, I've never, my parents, and I know if you're watching this, it's your first time. So I've never told this to anyone. My parents don't know it, any of it. I've never, I never let my parents know about any of these things. And, that's a long time ago, almost 5 to 6 years ago. But there's this thing, but I don't fear anymore. That's the point. I don't fear anything anymore. I don't fear whether people like me or hate me. I don't fear about anything. There's nothing for me to fear because I know what to do next. I know the next steps. And I know that in a day, I've got certain tasks to do. Basically, I am understanding the game. Okay? And I feel that's all I'm going to talk about right now. That's all. This video is all about, why you should not be afraid of failing. And one more thing, last thing. Whenever I go home, I talk to my parents, I talk to my family members, it's the same conversation. And many people ask me, not ask, but in general conversations, like these are the conversations that I have whenever I'm around anyone. And I mention the same thing, I tell the same thing, that I love failing. I love failures. I love these lessons. Because every single failure gives you the opportunity to learn, to take the lesson of what you did wrong and what you should be avoiding. And all of this provided you are conscious enough, you ask yourself, you are brave enough to reflect upon your actions. You are failing every single day, but the moment you fail, you feel like a victim. And once you feel like a victim, you start talking to yourself very negatively. You see yourself as if you're a failure. And that's how things go. But that's how normally things go. That's how traditionally you've been designed to think. But the moment you fail, whenever I fail nowadays at anything, okay, I don't talk to myself badly. I don't, degrade myself with negative self-talks. I don't blame myself. Not blame, but I do blame myself because I keep myself accountable. But I don't, kick my own ass. You know what I'm saying? I don't beat myself up. If I fail at something, first thing what I do is I acknowledge it. Okay, I failed. What could I have done to avoid this situation? What could I have done better? What could I have avoided? That's the kind of conversation I have with myself right now. If I go through any kind of failures at any single point. So, failing is normal. It's very normal. If you are not failing, you are not trying anything. That's the simple reflection. Because the people who do not fail are the ones who do not try. And people who do not try, they don't know anything, they fear failure because they themselves, they cannot overcome the fear of failing. They're scared, they're cowards. So, do not be scared of anything. Do not be scared of people's judgments. Do not be scared of anything that goes inside your head before you start anything. And you will get all kind of voices, you will get all kind of thoughts inside your head whenever you start, whenever you plan to start doing something, whenever it's the first move you're making. It's going to get scary, but do not fear anything. Do not fear the failing. Okay? You have to fail. There's no avoiding the failing path, because the failures, I don't like this word failing. The failures equals lessons. The number of times you fail, it equals the number of lessons you've learned in the process. So every single time you fail, take a moment to reflect on why you failed, what could have done better, and do not beat yourself up. Alright? So that's it for this video. Finally, this is the conclusion, and I'll see you tomorrow.